Hello, everyone. This presentation, this video is about Google Slides. Google Slides is probably one of my favorite things to use in Google. And for those of you who know me, I really like Google a lot. In fact, sometimes I've possibly even said I drank the Google Kool-Aid. But I'm going to show you why I like Google so much, why I like slides so much. And there's a lot of things I do with slides beyond just, of course, the normal presentation stuff. So let's just start. First of all, in Google Slides, if you'd open up a Google slide, I suppose you can follow along with one device or just pay attention. Sorry, I don't know. Anyway, a couple good things about Google Slides. First of all, if you notice, my first tip or trick is that I have used a different background. I actually picked a different theme. So there's a lot of ways you can find different themes. Google has about, I don't know, 10, 15, and they're okay, but it's kind of fun to use some different ones. And my first tip or trick is actually not Google, and it kind of goes against what I just said, but this is a PowerPoint slide. I created the background. I kind of like the background in PowerPoint, and so I started it, and then I just shared it with myself and opened it in Google. So that's kind of an easy way to do that. And if you're not aware, as teachers, we all get access to like PowerPoint and Word. All you have to do is just type in the word PowerPoint in your search engine, in your search bar, and then sign in as a teacher, and we get free accounts. So you can use this. You can go into PowerPoint, you can create a PowerPoint. I do keep going back to Google, though. There's some, fun things to use in PowerPoint, or like Sway. But I always go back to slides just because it's so much easier and more friendly for students to be able to use. So sometimes I start it and then I pull it in here. So that was kind of a long talk about just a background. You can also get different backgrounds. So this is PowerPoint. You can get them from places like SlideShare or other options just to make it a little more fun. So my background here is a PowerPoint background. Next thing I just want to go through some of the file options when you're in slides. So if we pull down File, one of the first things that a lot of people maybe don't always know is that you can download this. Something I do often is I create a slide in, and then I download it as a PDF. The reason I do that is because then it acts more like a book for students. So if I create a presentation that I want them to be able to look at and act like a book, like I'm making an assignment for the students, I download it as a PDF and I share it that way. It's also can be opened with anything, so you don't have to have Google to open it. So this is a great way to share something with parents or with students. You can just share this link, then you download it as a PDF. So again, a nice way to just make assignments or information to be shared with students. Another thing, because I do that often, or I print out things, I'm going to jump ahead on my list here. I'm going to go down to page setup. One of the things I do often, so I use Google Slides to actually create assignments for students, and I make it look like a doc. The reason I do it in slides is because you get a lot more flexibility in how you create. So I just changed my page setup to an 8.5 by 11, and then this prints easily as a regular page. So again, I'll do this and I'll share as a PDF, and it just looks as if it's a book. So you could create little booklets for your students. You can share them through email or through Schoology or through Google Classroom really easily. I change the files, the page first, and then I download it as a PDF and share that PDF. Again, I'm going to page setup. You can also, if you change your page setup to an 8 by 3 or 800 by 300 pixels, you can, this 8 by 3 or 800 by 300, you can make that into a header for Pages or for Google Classroom or for Google Forms. So you can create kind of a fun one. And if you haven't already watched my video about the Bitmoji Classroom, that's where I talk about that and create kind of a fun Bitmoji classroom that way. Another thing in Google Slides, again, if we are going through File, Download, this is something every teacher should know about, and this is version history right here. So you go to version history. If you go to see version history, you can see what has been done, what changes have been made, and actually who made the changes, and you can undo them. So kind of a little trick, if you have students working on a slide together, you can create it, share with the students who are working on the project, and then if you go into see version history, you can see who added what to the presentation. This is a great way to see who's adding. I've actually, this is a true story. I was checking on some work students were doing, and there was a little giggling going on, of course, which is why I checked. And one person kept writing poop and erasing it, poop, erasing it, poop, erasing it. But I could see that in this version history. So I said, well, I guess you want to work on your own project. And it also helps if someone accidentally erases something you don't want them to erase, you can save a previous version. So if we go into see version history, it tells us when changes were made and who made them if more than one person is working on this. And then if you need to, you can always you can save to a previous version. So if I go to a previous version, mine's not going to do it because I just created it today, but it will have all the days and all the changes that you make. So it's a pretty cool way to fix, to monitor, to just see what is happening. Oh, darn it, I pressed that twice. I'll go back into that. It's called version history. And now I'm going to wait for my slide because I was impatient and pressed it twice. Go back in. If you were watching one of my other videos, I said, don't worry if you make mistakes. Don't start over. It's okay. So I made a mistake. I'm back. Version history is where that was. File, version history. You can see who's adding what. Another thing under go back to my file menu, along with version history, is this option called Publish to the Web. If you go to Publish to the Web, what it does is it makes this a shareable presentation and it puts it into presentation mode. So you have to agree to publish it, and then when you publish it, says, are you sure this is going to make it public so people that have the link can see it? And then you would share this link with students. You could put this link into like Google Classroom or Schoology, or just send it to the students. And then when they click and open it, it opens it in the presentation mode. And you can have it where the slideshow advances every 3 seconds. There's all kinds of things you can do with that. So I'm just going to unpublish that for now. I guess it doesn't matter. I'm not sharing it with anybody anyway. But that just is one thing you can do. Then another one on the file, I think I wanted to share maybe, I did the page setup and I already shared that with you. And that's just, again, changing it to a page, 8.5 by 11, makes it look like a regular page. Okay, a couple other tips and tricks. One thing that is kind of a nice thing to be able to do is changing this address. So when I copy my web address, I can, it's a long address, I'm going to copy it and just paste it in here so you can see what I'm talking about. If I paste that address here, make that a little bigger so you can read it, sorry. If you change that address, whoops, right here, let's go to 14. Sorry, make that a little bit bigger. Make that to... So when you have that address, you have a long address. If you delete all the way to the word edit, or just erase that, and then you change that, you can change that to 2 different things. You could change it to copy. If you change this word to copy, and then you share that address with students or with parents or with anyone, and this works for all Google, not just Slides. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that into a new website, a new paste that in. What that does is it lets you have a copy of this document but not mess with mine. So when you tap this, you will now be able to tap this and make a copy for yourself, or students can make a copy of this document or the slide, but they have their own copy. They don't have to mess up yours, or you don't have to make a copy from the file menu. So share this address, it instantly makes a copy for them. On that same note, the other thing you can do is, again, copying, going all the way back to that word edit. And this time we're going to use the word present. I'm going to copy that and paste it. And what this does is it puts your slideshow instantly into present mode. So now if I share this with somebody, Or if I'm presenting while I'm making a video, my slideshow is in automatic present mode, and then it doesn't look like a Google slide with all the things on the left side. If I tap, it just goes through all my slide changes, my pages. So that's just changing the word to present. So kind of a couple little tricks to be able to use this a little more friendly. Now, another thing I like to do is I like to use, like I said, I use this to make worksheets or to make assignments for students. And sometimes when you have all these words on here and then you want them to answer questions, if you share this with them, they can change this and all your little formatting gets messed up and all that good stuff. And you're like, darn it, why'd you have to touch that? All I want to do is type an answer in. Well, what you do is you take, so if this was a page I wanted them to not be able to change, but I want to have them, I'm going to give them a little box to answer a question in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this page right here and I'm going to file, I'm going to save this, download as a JPEG. And now it's going to just save my JPEG right down here in the bottom. Now I'm going to go to a new page. I'm just going to create a blank page here because it doesn't matter. And I am going to, on this page, I'm going to make the background. I'm going to choose my image and I'm going to pull that JPEG that I just made into here. Now what that does is it means that when they are writing on top or changing, or if they have a text box they're supposed to write in, they're not messing with my page because that's just a background. I mean, I suppose they could if they wanted to change the background, but then I just say, here, answer question here. Answer question in this box. They will be able to write just in this box. Nothing else moves for them like it did in my other box. Does that make sense? So I'm just actually making my own page a background. So I will create this, make the background pages, save them, and then kind of delete the ones with the boxes in them. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Anyway, I save as a JPEG and I make that my background so it's not editable. That's kind of a fun one to do. Another one, and then I'm going to end this, is just something fun that you can do. Two more things, sorry. Is when you are typing or your fonts, if you don't already know this, when you pull down your font style, if you haven't added more fonts, you should tap this box and add more fonts. There's a ton of new fonts you can add. A lot of people just seem to overlook that option. So you can go ahead and click if you want to add more fonts to your pull down list. You can add them. And now they're accessible from my list. Anything I clicked on and added. So you can add more fonts. And then the last thing I would consider doing is if you use Nearpod or Pear Deck, and Nearpod is awesome, and I'll do a demonstration on that one later, you can, in your add-ons, you can make this into a Nearpod. So you can add Nearpod in here. So I can make my Nearpod presentation directly from here, which is a little bit easier than trying to make it within Nearpod. So I open up my Nearpod, it signs me in, and then everything I do, I have all the Nearpod tools, and it will send it directly to Nearpod. So those are some of my favorite things about Google Slides. Like I said, I usually use this not just for slides, but also for making assignments for students or for making documents. It's a great way to make a poster because everything is easily movable without having to worry about the formatting issues. Oh, one more thing, I almost forgot. I love my Bitmojis on here in case you haven't noticed. And so I did add my Bitmoji from the Chrome store. I added it right into Chrome. One thing if you want to use Bitmojis in here, you can tap them and add them. But if you tap and drag them on, it actually makes it a transparent Bitmoji. So it's a little more friendly for sliding around and putting without having that white background. All right, hopefully you found some cool things and try Google Slides for more than just a slide presentation. And have a good day.